You for having me. I am here to talk today about budgeting, and I'm actually going to send Alexander a request so I can share my PowerPoint. But just a little background, I'm from Norton Home Office Management. We are personal money managers. So what that means is we help make sure people pay their bills and keep track of their bookkeeping and have sort of a caretaker for their general financial lives. I am also the financial literacy coach for our company, and I'm sort of wearing that hat today as I come and speak to all of you. And now I can share this presentation. So that is who I am. Come on, computer. There we go. So this is good saving and spending principles with an eye toward people with disabilities specifically. So this is who we are. It's a family business. So the woman in the middle is my mom, and then the woman on the right is my sister. Our mission is to provide, sorry about that, is to provide professional excellence with grace and compassion so that our clients feel confident in their everyday lives and financial endeavors. And we support them so they can be assured that their needs and the needs of their loved ones are being met efficiently and effectively. Um, Our larger financial literacy coaching is a one-on-one introduction to navigating personal money management. We do a lot of what we're going to talk about today on a more one-on-one basis, as well as look at sort of very specific needs. So the first thing that always comes up in my experience is where is our money coming from and where is it going? And so when we really want to look at spending intentionally, we want to stretch our dollars so that we get the most out of them, which is not always easy right now. So the first thing we want to know is we want to know where your money's coming from and where it goes to. And I will be dropping in the chat when we pause in just a couple of minutes for the first round of questions. This form here, and then the form on the next page. So you can print these and use them for as much or as little as you'd like. So the first thing we need to do is we need to identify, okay, what money is coming into your account. So you'll say, for each individual month, you'll have, maybe an SSI payment, a JLA allotment, a salary from your job. So you'll put those items into these income sources and then you'll add them all up, and that's your total monthly income. So that's what you have to spend in any given month. Unfortunately, we all have bills we have to pay, right? So we can't just only spend money on the things that we want to spend money on, like movie tickets and trips to the beach and books and fun stuff. We also have less fun stuff. We have to pay rent, we have to pay a phone bill, an internet bill, etc. So we want to put those in here, so that we know, okay, what is the total amount that we know we have to pay, and then that's what our total monthly bills are. And then we'll take our total monthly income, we'll subtract our total monthly bills, and that'll give us the total amount of money we have to spend the way we decide to. And I want to take a minute to talk about wants and needs. So monthly bills are usually things that you need to pay for to operate in modern life. So that's a phone bill, internet, rent, etc. They're not necessarily things that we want to spend money on, but the things that aren't monthly set bills are still some things that we need to spend money on to survive, right? We need to spend money on food, we need to spend money on transportation if we're getting to and from appointments and all that sort of stuff. And then after that, we have the money that we want to spend. And now what happens to a lot of people, myself included, is okay, so here's my monthly bills. Here's what I know is the money I have left to spend the way I choose. But sometimes, you spend it here, you spend it there, and it adds up very quickly, and you're not sure, wait, how did I get to this total number? And so for that, we have this next slide. So here's your total available funds. That's going to be the number from money to spend down here. You're going to put that number up here on the next page. And then you can start putting in the days and the amounts. So let's say, you have $500 left to spend after all of your bills. You went to the grocery store and you spent $120, $125.92. You're going to want to put in, I spent $125.92 here. You want to say where it is so you know where it's going. And then you're going to take this number and subtract the $125.92 and whatever's left you're going to put here. So then as you go through your month, you'll be able to see what you have left so you're not caught by surprise, because there's nothing worse. I say this from experience. There's nothing worse than going to the register at the grocery store or wherever and having your card not go through the way you want it to, right? Or the way you're expecting. It's overwhelming. It can be embarrassing. Um, and it's just not a good feeling. So this way we know how much money you have left, and then you can make thoughtful choices with how much you have about what you want to spend it on. So let me drop this in the chat for you. And while I do that, does anyone have any questions?
Well, I have a question,
Yes.
and yes, and that is, can you use credit cards, or what can you use to pay for expenses?
So I think that credit cards are a great option if you can pay off the whole balance at the end of the month. So if you are in a position where your credit, and sometimes this even means, as like counterintuitive as this is, um, keeping your credit limit low so that you don't end up racking up debt that you can't pay off, right?
Huh,
So if if you know that you can pay off your whole bill, then absolutely use your credit card for a lot of your everyday expenses. If you know you have a tendency to spend whatever's in your limit without thought to what you can pay off that month, then don't do it. And the reason why I like credit cards are a couple different reasons. If you have one with cash rewards, you do get some money back. So you end up with a little bit of savings. Now you're not making any money, but you are saving some money back.
huh,
And the other thing I like is there's an extra layer of security with a credit card. So if you're using your credit card to buy something at the farmer's market and something goes wrong and someone gets your credit card information and tries to use that, it is easier to get those transactions canceled typically through the credit card company than it is to get that canceled through a debit card.
okay,
It's
okay,
just because of how the cards are set up and who takes responsibility for the fraud.
uh-huh,
And we spend a lot of time, doing fraud prevention stuff with our clients. So that's something I always have a mind to. But you do want to also look at any credit card transaction fees because most cash back is about 1.5%, but a lot of credit card transaction fees are 3% or more. So that means it's actually costing you more money to use that than you'd be getting back in the cash rewards. So then it's not
okay,
worth it.
okay. Thank
But
you.
yeah, I think there's plenty of times where it's absolutely a great tool to use. Um, it just depends on your situation. Any other questions? And then the reason why it's important not only to not, rack up debt, but also the credit card interest is really high. Um, and so it feels like lighting money on fire without I joke that I'm like, yeah, it's like lighting your money on fire without the experience of actually getting to watch cash go up in flames. Because like at least you'd have that experience that you were paying for. It's just like there goes an extra $30, $40, $340. I have a former client who 1 year paid an entire mortgage payment's worth of credit card interest on his credit card. And once he realized, and he could have been paying off his whole card and just wasn't. And once he realized that's how much it was costing him, he It was like, well, I could have paid a 13th month on my mortgage and instead I just gave my money to the credit card company. Um, he started paying off the whole thing every month because he's like, that's not worth it. And I was like, no, it's not.
Okay.
Any other questions about that? Are there any questions about the forms now that they're dropping into the chat and you can look at them? Questions about how to fill that out? And I would put everything on there, even if it feels small. Um, and like there's this thing that happens with us psychologically, right, where we tend to round down money. So, oh, that was only $5. Well, it was $5.95. And so then you did, so you made a handful of purchases like that. Or really it was $7, but it was five because you forgot about the tax. So in your head it was five. And then so now you have fewer dollars and suddenly there's less in your account than you're expecting. So let me get back to this presentation. Da, 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 da. Okay, so now that we have a system for how we can keep track of what we're spending. And if this isn't enough lines, you can double them. If you want to use a different system, that's fine too. But we just want to make sure we know where our money is going. And then we can decide whether or not it feels worth it to us for our money to be going to those places. And then from there, we can start evaluating, okay, what is worth the cost and what is not. There are some ways that you can shrink your monthly bills, that you do have to pay, sort of like your needs rather than your wants. Um, there's a way to shrink that. First of all, you want to look at everything and say, are you using all of it? Is there anything you're paying for twice? So if you're paying for, streaming services are a really good example of this. If you're paying for Amazon Music and Spotify, those are duplicates. You get all the same music. You don't need to be paying for both. There's probably one that you like better, and you should cancel the other one and just pay for your music once. And then there's also the question of, are they worth what they cost to you? So, we've decided that we're going to, yes, I use my Spotify. Is it worth it to pay $10 a month to get it without ads? Is that $10 worth it? Or maybe you should cancel your subscription and use the free version and just get the occasional ad. And that's a very personal decision that you have to decide for you. I've decided that that's one that, no, I hate the ads. So I pay for my Spotify, but there's other things that I'm like, yes, I will watch this ad before I watch this movie because it means you're not charging me. Um, so first of all, are we using everything we're paying for? If we're not using it, let's get rid of it. Can we get the same service for less money? And are they worth what they cost to you? So there are some things some subscriptions have multiple tiers, like Netflix. Netflix has 3 different tiers, and at least there might be 4 now. Um, and it may be that the tier you're paying for, you're not using all of the services of. So their premier level has unlimited, super high def picture and 2 different screens at all times simultaneously and all of this stuff. And most people just don't need all of those bells and whistles. So by going down a tier, they save $5 a month. And $5 doesn't seem like that much in a month, but over your year, that's $60. That's half a week's worth of groceries for 2 people at current pricing. Um, and then if you do a series of these things, it all starts to add up. So you can lower your subscriptions to another tier. You can also call a lot of your phone and internet providers, as well as your newspapers, and look up the promotional rates before you call. And you call and you say, hi, my name is Anna McCarthy, and I would like to see what we can do about getting me a better rate on my phone service. Right now, you're promoting a $25 a month for new customers. I understand that I'm not a new customer, so I'm not eligible for that, but it seems silly to be punished for being a longtime customer. I've been a customer of Verizon for 15 years. I've never had a cell phone anywhere else. I really don't want to change my provider. Can we make a deal? And they'll lower it some. You may be able to get them to lower it more. And if you get any pushback, if you ask for the customer retention department, they will be able to provide you with the best deal that they are able to give current customers. And that can save, depending on what it is, hundreds of dollars a year, if not more. I have a client who we called the LA Times because they were going to double her rate. And they said, well, we can take you back down to just a 10% increase for your news service. And she goes, that's great, and I appreciate that, but it does seem really, really ridiculous. It seems really unfair that you're charging me more because I've been here for a long time, especially when there's this other thing. And they said, okay, this is what we'll do for you. For the next year, we will keep you at the exact same price that you're at now. And then it'll go up. And she said, great. And then we put it in the calendar to call a year from now to say, okay, now what can you do? Um, and we want to make sure that we can take advantage of those things because it just stretches our dollar and it means that we have more to spend without sacrificing any quality of life or any of the things that we use that we enjoy. Um, Another way to make sure that you're getting your services for less is make sure you take advantage of all of the public benefits available to you. And I know right now there's a lot up in the air about what is and is not covered and will be covered going forward. But I know that JLA has many resources to help connect you to the right people who can help answer your questions about what benefits you're eligible for and take full advantage of them. Um, and make sure you use them all. There are options available at SoCal Gas and SoCal Edison to help cover your bills, depending on your medical status and how much energy you use for equipment, as well as a bunch of other ways to help you. Also, if you read or listen to audiobooks or like movies and TV shows, go to your public library. They have multiple online options for e-readers and audiobooks. Hoopla and Libby are great. You can also check out oodles of things, including most LA City and LA County libraries have passes to state parks. So if you're thinking about, oh, I want to go to the beach today and I want to, but there's a fee, you can go check out the pass from the park. There's the pass to the park from the library, and you'll get in for free and not pay for that parking. Um, they have tons of free resources, and everyone should take advantage of those. Are there any questions about, because I know I often get questions about this, are there any questions about lowering these bills and ways to negotiate getting subscriptions lowered?
Um, I have a question.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you subscribe to something, it's easy to lose track of what you subscribe to.
Mhm.
So, what's the best way of keeping track of all your subscriptions?
So there are a bunch of different services you can sign up for. Experian's running a program right now where they'll show you what all your subscriptions are, and you can choose to cancel the ones you want to through them. I have not tried that yet. What I always do for myself and with my clients is I look at my credit card statement and my bank statement and I go through and I highlight all of the things that are services. I got a renewal email today for something that I signed up for and didn't realize that I'd signed up for a premium paid thing. And I was like, oh, shoot, I meant to cancel that a month ago. So I have now marked it in my email. And after this call, I'm actually going to go in and cancel it because I'm not using. It was one of those 7-day
Right,
trials that then keeps going, and I'm like, I'm not using it the way I thought I was going to use it. And also, I've decided that I don't think I need the premium stuff
right.
for what it's costing. So I'm going to go in and cancel that. So you can use a service, but often your bet, and that is helpful to see it all together in one place. But to make sure nothing gets, and then I would say use the Experian one. But to make sure that nothing gets skipped, I look at all the statements. And I highlight them because sometimes you'll notice going through, wait a minute, I'm paying for Netflix twice. Why on earth would I do that? I don't need to pay for it twice, right? Especially like, and if you're sharing it and need to share it across multiple households, they have, first of all, I don't know how hard they're enforcing that, not that I'm officially saying that, but also, um, there's a system for that where you can sign up multiple families and it's cheaper than having two different accounts. Any other questions? Okay, so the other things, so now we're chipped away at your monthly bills, we want to think about the money you have to spend the way you choose. Um, and there are things that we have to pay for, right? Like, and we have zero control over what they cost. You know, if I could control how much the gas cost at the pump, believe you me, I would for all of us. Um, but we can't. But what we can do is we can keep an eye on the gas stations that are on our regular commute, on our regular route from home to play to work, to the grocery store, to places we go all the time, and see which ones have the best prices right now. And they'll change around a little bit. And I know a lot of people always ask, oh, well, shouldn't I be loyal to one gas station? Like I have Chevron rewards. It's like, sure, that gets you rewards at that gas station, but in my experience and an experience most people have talked to you about this, Chevron's always at least 50 cents more expensive than the things around it. So yes, you're getting a little bit of money back, you're getting some rewards points, but it's not enough to cover the difference. Now, don't go out of your way to drive, 10, 15, 45 minutes away to a gas station that's cheaper because you're just using more gas. But with the places that are on your regular route, look at the places that have the best price that week. Do sign up for the free rewards programs at the grocery store and the gas station, especially the ones that are connected, like Ralph's partners with Shell, I think. Because then you get points off of your gas for buying groceries that you're already buying anyway. Um, so sort of pair those things together as much as you can, get the coupons, take advantage of those. Um, but and speaking of the grocery store, and make a list before you go. Make a meal plan and say, okay, this week I'm going to eat I'm going to eat these things for lunch, these things for breakfast, these things for dinner. Don't forget snacks. And then go to the grocery store with that list in hand and try to go about once a week. Because what happens is we'll see things and we'll go, ooh, I want this too. And I want this too. And I want this too. And we'll forget what's in our cabinets and what isn't. And then we'll end up with way more food than we meant to come home with. And we may not be able to consume everything, especially if we're looking at, fruit and vegetables and, perishables in the fridge. You may not be able to eat it all before it goes bad. Um, Also think about snacks when you make your grocery list. And as silly as it sounds, don't go grocery shopping when you're hungry because you will buy, if you're me, and a lot of people in these studies, you will buy all of the sugar, all of the salt, all of the things, and then you'll realize that you don't really have any food for dinner, or you'll get the dinner food because you made the list, but you'll also come home with like a month's worth of chocolate. And that's maybe not how we want to be spending our money. If you want to buy a month's worth of chocolate, go for it. Just make a plan. And then takeout. I have noticed that more than anything else with my clients, the money that they're surprised that they're spending is on takeout. DoorDash is so convenient and so expensive. So think about whether or not your takeout order is worth the price, including the delivery fee, including if you're tipping. It might be better to grab, if you know that there's going to be a couple nights this week where you're not going to want to cook, get a preset meal at the grocery store, look into one of the meal kit programs where they have them pre-made. My brother really likes Factor, but look at them and see what the cost is because a lot of the time that'll take out all of the time and the energy and the effort of having to cook, which is why you're ordering the takeout so you don't have to cook, but at a much lower price point. Um, what I recommend too, because I don't believe, as you're going to see this in a minute too, I don't believe in completely cutting out anything from your budget and saying, no, you're not allowed to spend a single penny on shoes or a single penny on takeout because it's not sustainable, right? So you'll be really, really good and really, really strict for 3 weeks. And then the end of the month comes and you're like, oh, great, I have this extra money. I'm just gonna, but and then you end up spending 3 times as much as you would have if you had allowed yourself the what I refer to sort of as everyday luxuries or little luxuries along the way. So, with that in mind, maybe you decide that 1 day a week is when you do takeout. So, Mondays are really hard for you. Maybe Monday's the night you do takeout. At my house, it's Friday. We do Friday night takeout. We don't cook on Fridays. Um, so that's food, that's gas, clothing. As much as is practical, try to buy fewer higher quality clothing items that will last you a long time. If you buy one pair of $25 sneakers that last a year, every year for 5 years, you're going to spend hundreds of dollars more than if you bought one pair of $100 sneakers that last you 5 years. And this is sort of it's a hidden cost of being on a budget because you can't always afford to just buy the thing that will last longer. So as much as possible, try to plan ahead for those or try to foresee those. Um, but and and sometimes when you're in a pinch and you just need the shoes for the new job for the whatever, you have to do what you have to do. But as much as you can, try to invest in fewer higher quality items because they cost you less money in the long run. That may also mean thinking about how many wears can I get out of this, right? Cost per wear is important. If you buy, I'm a sucker for a good sundress, but if I buy a sundress that's super trendy and is only going to be, I'm only going to wear it this summer, the cost per use is going to be through the roof. If I spend $50 on a dress and I wear it 2 times, it costs me $25 every time I wear it. But if I buy a dress that maybe costs $100 and I wear it 50 times, then it costs me $2 every time I pull it out of the closet. If I take what it costs to buy it and stretch it out. So you want to think about how many uses can I get out of this? Does this go with things I already have in my closet? And that will give you some more flexibility to then ideally have more money to then be able to do the other things you want to do, like go to the movies, like go out to dinner with your family, whatever it may be. Um, any other questions about that? About how to think about that, how to stretch those dollars, how to Robin, do you have a question or was there just a bleep or blip?
Hi.
Hi,
Hi.
have you seen in the bedroom
Hi.
my keychain?
No.
The Louis Vuitton one?
Okay, so speaking of everyday luxuries, the first thing that most financial bigwigs or people who think they know everything about personal spending will tell you is, oh, well, you should stop getting coffee outside your home. You should just never go to Starbucks. And there's two things about that. Um, First of all, with the cost of, or you can never buy a house if you go to Starbucks all the time. The cost of buying a house in LA County is very, very high. If you cut out all Starbucks, so say you spend $25 a week on coffee. If you save that, if you try to cut out every single cup of coffee you buy, Um, you cannot save your way with Starbucks alone to a down payment on a house where we live. It's just not practical. It's not going to happen. Um, and we aren't just living for some future hypothetical day where we can make that huge purchase, right? We are living today. We're living now. We should not, we should be thoughtful and we should stretch our dollars and we should make sure that what we're spending our money on brings us something that is worth what it costs, but we should not sacrifice every little pleasure for some future day that may or may not come to pass the way it is, the way we hope. Um, so let's think about the little everyday luxuries. What do you want to be spending your time on? Um, what do and what do you want to be spending money on and why is it valuable to you? And I will take some feedback on that if anyone has anything that they absolutely love that they know they don't need to buy. It can be ice cream, it can be the newest book from your favorite author, it can be all kinds of things. Does anyone have any of those?
I think everyone's just too embarrassed. Yeah.
I've clearly outed myself on like when it's been gray for a while, like yesterday, and then it was sunny for the first day. I was like, I want to get an ice cream. Like, oh, it's ice cream weather. My friend would tell you every weather is ice cream weather, but it's like, oh, I really, I feel like I want an ice cream. Um, do I need it? No. But you feel like, okay, well, what does that look like? And so that, okay, well, what do I want from that? How does that, and what is a cost-effective way to get the experience of that or to get the joy of that while spending less, perhaps. So or for me, another one too is like I went out of my way. I have gone out of my way to pick up books from my favorite authors when like the day they come out because I want to read them and I don't want to wait in the really long line at the library. I want to read it now and then I want to keep it on my shelf and see it and go, "Oh, I loved that book." And then I want to be able to pick it up whenever I want and read it again. So those are things that sort of are everyday luxuries. Do I need them? No. Do I really like them? Do I see value in them? Yes. Especially with the books, I pay for it once and I can enjoy them for hundreds, if not thousands of hours, year after year after year. They don't expire, right? They don't go anywhere. They don't rot. They don't get old. Um, so those are some of the things that I like. But but as much as is reasonable, I think at least half of the books I've read this year, I'm a big reader. Half of the books I've read this year are from the library and I got them for free, right? So as much as possible, I'm trying to use that resource rather than buying every single book that I'm interested in reading, which there are thousands of them. So I would go bankrupt. Um, so that's some ways that I can sort of stretch my dollars by being more selective about which books I buy versus which books I borrow. Um, and I want to talk about specifically because I think this is a really good example that shows you the big picture. I want to talk about Starbucks. But and then I'm actually going to come back to the slide in a minute. So, an example of how we can stretch our dollars. So, more than 24 million people go to Starbucks at least once a week. I'm going to have a hypothetical person. Her name is Stephanie. She likes to go 3 times a week. I'm a former Starbucks barista. This 3 times a week is average, I think, for a lot of regulars. She orders a venti iced caramel macchiato and a blueberry muffin. In LA County, her total for her Starbucks run before a tip, before tax, is $10.20. That's $30.60 a week $122.40 a month, and a whopping $1,591.20 a year. The question is, and that Stephanie needs to answer is that worth it? And what is it that she's getting out of her visit? Yes, she's getting the iced caramel macchiato and she's getting a blueberry muffin. But for some people, what they really, really like about getting their coffee out in the world is they don't have to make it. Someone else is doing it, right? And it's that little moment of being taken care of by somebody else. And that's what she gets out of it. Or, she's a regular at her local Starbucks and they know her name and she walks in and they go, Stephanie, how are you? Our order's already ready. We saw you. Like, how's it going? How are your kids? How's your family? What's going on? And she gets community out of it, right? Um, or she goes 3 times a week because that's where she meets her friends to catch up. And that's an important, valuable thing. All of these things are valuable, but based on what the value is for her, she can tweak a little bit how much she spends and she can save some money, right? So if it's just about someone else making her coffee for her, she doesn't have to get the venti iced caramel macchiato, which is a more labor intensive drink and more expensive. She could get a caramel iced coffee with milk. She could change up her order that way. Or a venti is the biggest size they make. If she got a grande instead, just that one change, she would save 50 cents a visit and $78 a year, which is the monthly cost of an Amazon Music subscription. So that subscription she would save the money that she would spend that much money's worth. Let me back up. So if she were to save that $78 a year, she could now then afford an Amazon Music subscription that maybe she couldn't afford before.
Mm.
If she got a tall instead of a venti, that's $12 a month. That's a Netflix subscription, a Hulu subscription. Also $156 a year, again, as a dress girl. I'm like, that's a nice sundress that I could wear all spring and summer. And, maybe I'm going to my cousin-in-law's wedding. Like, I could buy a dress for my cousin-in-law's wedding without have to worry about how I'm going to pay for it because I get a tall instead of a venti. So you see how these things sort of add up and grow on each other. There's also, does it need to be 3 times a week? If she's looking for the connection, maybe she can go twice a week. If she just, doesn't have it together because she's running late in the morning and didn't have to make time to make coffee at home, she can get a different order. Or I make iced coffee ahead of time and I keep it in a bottle in my fridge. So I don't have to make coffee in the morning. I just wake up, pull it out, pour it, off I go. And if you buy their iced coffee, if you like the Starbucks flavor exactly, and you want to get their iced coffee, you can get that at the grocery store for significantly less. So we've talked about the coffee. What about this blueberry muffin? You can get a similar, so that each blueberry muffin at Starbucks in LA County is $3.75. For $6.99, because I looked this up yesterday, for $6.99 at Vons, you can get a comparable quality blueberry muffin 4-pack for the cost of 2 blueberry muffins at Vons. So if you're, growing in, grabbing your stuff, and then heading off to the next thing, maybe you buy the muffins at the grocery store, you save $7 a month, and you get to spend it on something that you're more excited about than your Starbucks blueberry muffin. And then if you start combining these things, if you're doing a tall instead of a venti and you're getting your blueberry muffins from the grocery store, you're then saving $26 a month. So it all starts to grow. So going back to this other one, I want to hear about the things that you want to be spending your money on, but you don't feel like you have the money, right? Because it's really easy to talk about. This is how you cut. This is how you narrow it down. But it's hard to actually do it if you don't know what you're doing it for. Like why bother? What's the point? What is it that you want to be spending your money on instead? What can we be putting coins into a jar for? So what are the things that if anyone wants to share, you can also share in the chat, which I forgot existed. You can share in the chat as well. What are some of the things? Live theater tickets. Yes. Chocolate is neat. Correct. Correct. Which is why we plan for how we're going to buy that. So live theater tickets, right? Or movie tickets, or maybe I had a client I used to work with who really just wanted to go spend the day at the beach. That's all she wanted. She's like, I want to go. I want to get the gas in my car. She lived really far from the beach. I want to put my gas in the car. I want to be able to take the day off work on a day that both me and my partner aren't working. And I want to be able to fill up our tank, buy some nice sandwiches from the fancy sandwich shop, get in the car and go to the beach for the day. And I said, okay, how much is that going to cost, do you think? She's like, well, let's figure it out. So it's probably, $30 for the sandwiches and $50 for the tank of gas, and parking's probably $10. So it's, okay, so what I'm hearing is you probably want, at least $100 for this adventure to the beach, this perfect beach day. Making cuts at Starbucks, if you're buying your blueberry muffin and you're getting a tall instead of a venti, in 4 months, you have money to go to the beach. Just doing that one thing. Is Starbucks and other luxury food expenses legitimate expenses from a special needs trust? That is a good question, Sunny. So, a special needs trust, generally speaking, and Michelle will jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but generally speaking, it is to cover for the needs of the person that the trust is built for, to include potentially housing, food, education, general quality of life. Michelle, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But once, a special needs trust supplements government
Yes.
benefits. But, once clients, have a secure place to live and their health, it's very important as wellness and health is covered, whether it's by Medi-Cal or Medicare or a private health insurance. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with using your trust money for Starbucks.
Yeah, so going to Starbucks or going out for a nice dinner occasionally, using funds from a special needs trust within reason, and after you've covered the essentials, there's a roof over your head, there's, less expensive food in your belly, your medical needs are taken care of, and your general quality of life is taken care of. Starbucks and other luxury items like that fall under the general quality of life. But yeah, that's a good question. Like, can we even cover that? So yes, we can. Um, so if you have, so okay, you've saved for your beach day, for 4 months just from your Starbucks savings. There's also, if you've taken $20 off of your internet bill, and you've taken $20 off of your phone bill every month, and you've taken $10 out of your Starbucks budget every month, and maybe you shopped with your grocery list, and so you didn't just sort of blow your budget on chips and salsa. You can have the money to go to the beach in a month, and you can do that. And if you really liked your beach day, that can start being a recurring thing. That, 4 times a year we go to the beach, or 4 times a year, we've managed to save up enough over all these different places where we've stretched our dollars further, that we can now get a 4-night package to live theater, depending on where you're going and what you want to see. And that, to me, is more enriching, being able to do the things that you want to do, and that, like, increase your quality of life and increase the joy of your life. is way more valuable than the convenience of, well, I didn't have to make lunch and a nice man in an Uber came and dropped off my DoorDash, right? You get more of a life experience, more of a quality of an experience, and it's more worth it to do those things that you really want to do rather than just passively letting your money sift through your hands for things that you don't really care about one way or the other. And I guess what I'm getting at too is there's more than just monetary worth when you're evaluating these things. There's what it brings to you, to your life, to your family. Okay. So we talked about Starbucks. And then there's one other thing that I wanted to cover before I will take more general questions. And it is maintaining the value of your dollars. And I know that right now, the stock market is a very stressful place. And any financial expert that I have spoken to or my clients have spoken to have all said it's going to take some time to even out. Don't look too closely. Don't do anything reactionary. Know that we're watching it and we are taking care of you. You are all very, not all of you, but many of you have money in the JLA pooled trust. And you are very fortunate to have a trustee who manages that trust, who have met, who is a very intelligent and thoughtful fiduciary representative of you and your best interests. So they're doing what they can to make sure that you are taken care of in the stock market. But the question comes up, especially in tumultuous times like this, where why are we putting our money in something like the stock market? It feels more risky. And the answer is it maintains the value of your dollars. So I want to look at cheeseburgers at McDonald's as an example because these are fun and easy to look at. So a cheeseburger at McDonald's in 1999 cost 79 cents to buy. Now, and actually now was in 2024, it costs $2.89. I'm not sure how much it costs today. It may have gone up. That is an increase of over 265% in 25 years. That's huge difference, right? In a regular savings account in most US banks, your money earns about 0.02% a year. So if you put $100 into a savings account in 1999, you would now have $100.50, which is only an increase of 0.5% in 25 years. So if we're looking at the increase in cost of a McDonald's cheeseburger versus the increase of the value of your $100, obviously tremendously being outpaced by the cost of living compared to what you would save in a savings account. So your $100 in a savings account does not keep up with the price of cheeseburgers. However, in the past 25 years, and this includes any downturn we've had, and this is actually true over the past 100 years, the stock market has had at least a 7.6% rate of return per year on average. Now, some years it is down significantly. There's no way around that. Some years it is up way more than 7%. But on average, it increases by 7.6% year over year. So if you put your $100 in the stock market in 1999, under the advice of a professional who is not just putting it all on black and hoping for the best, but putting it in and having it be diversified, you would now have $639.67. I did not calculate how many cheeseburgers that is, but it's a heck of a lot more than you could get for your $100.50. So that is why JLA invests your money the way that they do, so that you have more of it for longer and you can stretch those dollars that way as well. So in summary, and then I'm going to take lots of questions. Know how much money you have coming in and know where it goes. Make sure you're making the most of the things that you have to spend, that you spend money on every month. Cancel what you don't use. I have not met anybody who doesn't use the internet, but if you don't use the internet, you're probably not on this call. But if you know anyone who doesn't use the internet, maybe you cancel your home internet and you don't pay for it. If you're not using it, what's the point? Be thoughtful about how you spend your money. What are you getting out of it? Is it worth it? Or is it just sort of passively going in and out of the system and you're not really getting anything of quality out of it? Use any and all tools you have to stretch your dollars. Call the customer service department, ask if you can lower your bill. Think about whether or not your Starbucks order is worth what it costs you. Um, Carpool when reasonable. And then make sure your money is keeping its value so that you can use it as a tool to get what you want and what makes you happy. Are there any questions? Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing this. Are there any questions about what can or can't be covered? Are there any questions about the forms? You can type them into the chat. You can send them to Michelle and she can type them into the chat if you're feeling shy.
Yeah, what expenses exist that are just absolutely unacceptable to be paid from the special needs trust?
I
So, I mean, trust can pay, a special needs trust can pay for almost any legal expense. It's a question of how much money is in the trust, how old the person is, what benefits they're getting. Are you looking for something specific, Sunny?
No, my son does not get any benefits, and I made a mistake by getting a special needs trust and putting money in it. And so now I'm interested in using the money and closing the trust.
Okay. And are you having difficulty getting the trustee to give you the money?
No, I am the trustee.
Oh, okay.
So,
So you just want to make sure everything is legal. Yeah. So
yes,
you want to make sure you're not. I mean, normally you would be looking at the government benefits and making sure you're not supplanting any government benefits. So I mean, if somebody already has Medicare and Medi-Cal, you're not going to buy another whole private, health insurance program.
okay, yeah,
and then to be clear, everything in a special needs trust, anything that trust spends does need to be for the benefit of
Yeah.
the person who the trust is for. So if
yes,
I was a trustee of someone's special needs trust, I couldn't pay for a trip to Bermuda for myself, for example.
sure,
Yeah, that's super important. Thank you.
Yeah. Or even
okay,
or even
yeah,
necessarily like if I'm going with them, I would want to consult the trust documents as well as the attorney to be okay, can the trust pay for me to go on this trip if I'm
Right.
taking this person?
uh-huh, I see.
So I would
Okay,
also, so if you're looking at what you can do with those funds and potentially dissolving the special needs trust, I would contact the attorney who helped you create it, and they'll be
uh-huh,
able to tell you,
Right.
because it also depends a little bit on how everything's written. They'll be able to tell you exactly what your options are.
okay, great,
Yeah.
thank you.
And the other thing is, Sunny, even for people who aren't getting benefits, there's some desirable outcomes about having money in a special needs trust, especially so that person isn't vulnerable to other financial predators that are out there. Because there's so many scam artists out there.
Right.
Mhm.
So having the money in the trust rather than just in a bank account does help protect somebody with, disabilities and special needs.
Uh-huh, uh-huh, that's a good point, thanks.
Hey, I can send you in chat the link to our enrollment guide, which is specific to JLA trust clients, and we have a list of like what we allow and don't allow. And not all of that is It's not some of it is based on keeping benefits, so it wouldn't necessarily apply to your situation. But
Uh-huh.
there's a lot of expenses that are completely fine that you can use that money for, and maybe it'll help guide you.
Okay, thanks.
And then Sherry, I see my son signed up for several internet subscriptions during COVID. Yeah, didn't we all? Um, After I helped him cancel Disney. Yeah, so what you really want to do is audit what you're using, see what you can share.
Mm-hmm.
I know plenty of people who split the cost of online subscriptions. So my mom pays for Hulu, I pay for Netflix, my brother pays for the Disney Plus. Like we sort of all, and then we sort of share those services. Um, and there may be reason to not only do that for internet subscriptions, but also phone services. Like if you have multiple people who have separate phone plans, it's often cheaper to put them all together into
Yeah.
one family plan. Oh, you muted yourself by accident.
Um, yeah, particularly sometimes I also think for people on the spectrum, they might not want to tell everything that they're signed up for and don't
Mhm.
know how. They have made it easier to unsubscribe from like, Hulu and these services because there was a lot of hue and cry for a while. It was hard to get out of them.
Mhm.
But, with my son, I was just like, okay, what have you signed up for? Getting that information. I was not upset. And I just said, let me help you get out of some of these things because particularly Disney at that time was very expensive.
Mhm. Mhm. Um, yeah, so you can, and again, I have not used this service myself, but Experian does have a subscription cancellation, that'll show you what all your subscriptions are
Oh, okay.
all in one place. And then for most of them, they can help cancel it for you. And if
Hmm.
you're getting a runaround from the subscription service, you can also go through your credit card company and you can say, "Hi, I want to cancel this subscription and they are being very difficult. Will you please cancel any payments
Yes.
for this service?" And the credit card company will help you do that. It's harder to do that with a debit card. So that sort of circles back to the question of when do we use a credit card? When do we use a debit card? And for something like a monthly subscription like that, putting that on a credit card, it just makes it easier to cancel. But again, don't use a credit card if you know that you're going to spend more money than you can afford to pay off because the interest rates are
I know
just
they're terrible.
not worth it. It's over 25%, just so everybody knows like what that is. And we just talked about the interest rate in a savings account or the interest, the amount your money grows in the stock market is 7.6%. So for over 4 times that is what they'll charge you in credit card interest. So it's just
My son's very independent. He
Mhm.
has a debit card. I have not gotten him a credit card, although he's gotten some offers because I'm just not clear that he really understands how that
Yeah.
can add up. And, sometimes I feel, well, I'm sheltering him. I should give him the opportunity. But it's like, it just scares the heck out of me, because they'll just eat you up. So
Mhm.
he just manages with a debit card for now.
You can also use I really like TrueLink. We use that for
Hmm.
our clients. I think
Hmm.
that JLA also will use that to disperse allotments as well. It's a prepaid debit card. Depending on the circumstances, you can control what kinds of things they can and cannot use the TrueLink card for. Um, in my case, we have a lot of clients that have caregivers, and stuff comes up where they need to be able to pay for things
Yeah,
when they're
I
with their
understand.
client. So the TrueLink card's great for that. We can determine dollar amount maxes. We can do types of places, like you can say no alcohol in bars. You can
Hmm.
say yes alcohol in bars, but no something else. Like there's tons of options. And so people find that very helpful. I also know some clients who really like Greenlight, which is a similar company.
Hmm.
And I think for that one, you can actually go in and improve individual transactions if necessary. But a prepaid debit card might be a good something like a TrueLink card might be a good test to see what you can do. You can also you can always cancel, you can always lower your credit limit, and people don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the time we're all, when we talk about credit scores and we talk about you want the highest credit limit you can get, but don't use it all so that you can get the best score ever. And that's a credit score is only important when you're planning on using
Yeah,
credit for big purchases,
right.
right? In the next 12 months. So if you're not looking at buying a car or buying a house or moving into a new apartment, because they do check your credit score for that as well, your credit score is less important. And if you sort of set it and forget it, it tends to perform better than if you're trying to play
Play with it.
games
Yeah.
to make it be perfect. Um, but you can, and we actually have done with clients in the past, you can say, I don't want you to raise the credit limit above
Mm.
X number of dollars. And if they raise it, you can say, hi, I would like to lower my credit limit, please. And so that helps people too when they're paying down credit card debt, because it means that they won't just, oh, I have $10,000 on this credit card, but it's all maxed out, but I just paid down $2,000. So after the interest, I have, let's say I have $1,500 to spend. Let me just like swipe that card and oh, I'm back up to owing more than my limit again. You can actually ask them to lower it so that it keeps you from just racking it back up again. So that's often a good debt pay down strategy as well. Any other questions? Any questions about specific ways to save for certain kinds of things?
Um, Annie, what do you think of? I know some people are saying that we should start, buying extras of stuff that's going to go up with the tariffs, like socks and coffee and I don't
My
know.
husband literally just asked me this before I got on the Zoom. He's like, "We'll talk about this after, but like, what do you think about
Yeah.
it?"
So, what do you think about that?
So I think a couple of things are true simultaneously. Um, yes, think the cost of things are going to go up, and we're all really nervous. I'm right there with everybody else. Um, but also, if people start panic buying and stockpiling, the prices are going to go up even more, right?
Right.
You're going to have some price gouging situations. You're going to have sort of self-wagging dog
Yeah.
tail situations. So what I'm seeing as advice and what I think makes sense is maybe you stock up on things you know that you can consume um before they expire,
Mm.
consumable things. And it's not don't stockpile. Don't stockpile. This isn't a hurricane. This isn't, we don't need to go back to the early days of COVID where no one could find toilet paper and we're bartering milk for toilet bowl cleaner, which is literally something I traded with somebody. But if you know that, but do an audit of your house. If you know you're running low on Tylenol and you use it, get a big bottle of Tylenol now.
Yeah.
Don't get four, don't even get two, but maybe get one big one or like two little ones. If you know that you buy a lot of rice and you're running low, get the bigger package of rice now. Um, but don't get more than you can consume. Don't get more than you can store, and don't get more than you need is my thought. But yeah, like I'm planning on going through my medicine cabinet, especially because a lot of the ingredients are imported, even if the final product is made here. Um, so I'm going to look at, okay, what do I need? A lot of places too are also doing sales now because I think they're trying to make money while they can before everything gets more expensive. So if there's something that you've been needing for a while that you've been thinking about getting, now may be a good time to get it. I ordered towels last week because they were 50% off. So I got two sets of towels for the cost of one set of towels. And we've been needing new towels. But don't buy things you don't actually need. right? Like don't get new towels just because, oh, Anna said they were on sale, so I'm gonna go get them. It's like don't do that. If you don't need them, don't get them. Um, but think about the things that you use all the time. Think about the things you can store. Um, if you eat a lot of chicken and you have freezer space, get a couple extra things, chicken breast. Um, that way you can be flexible later when things go sideways. If things go sideways, depending, and we'll see how they go sideways because I don't know. If I knew, I would be telling all of you. I would be like broadcasting it everywhere. Be like, this is what's gonna happen. But unfortunately, we are all along for the ride. Luckily, we're all along for the ride together, so it makes it a little bit easier. But that's what I would do. I would look at that kind of stuff, and then if you have any prescriptions that are near time to refill, maybe you call in your next refill now,
Yeah.
just so you know you have it. So that way, if it looks like it's going to be harder and there's going to be a supply chain issue, you have a little bit more time for that to get sorted out. You have the extra, week rather than needing to pick it up today for tomorrow's dose. Anything else? Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. I know the slides are going to be shared. My contact information is on the last slide, so if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them over. I will try to answer them as best as I can. I am not don't own a crystal ball and am not a stockbroker, so I will not be offering any specific stock advice. That I'm not the person to ask for that. But I can direct you to the right answers if you need anything, and I'm happy to talk to you about budgeting strategies and saving strategies and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's been very helpful.
Oh, I'm so
Thank
glad. Thank you
you.
for asking your questions, Sunny. I appreciate it.
Sure.
And good luck with your puzzle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. Have a good evening.